let's move on to some other issue. And we're moving on to still an issue that has legal ramifications. It has to do with the Let My Vote Count Alliance. You know that they have stated that they are going back to the streets. It's supposed to be the 26th or so. We're going to talk to David Asante, who is the convener. He's joining us on the phone line. We're going to talk to the police. We're going to talk to the police as well and find out why they have gone back to court again and sought an injunction to stop the protest that these men and women want to embark on right now. Nonetheless, I need to state to you that some of the lawyers are sending me messages, the lawyers for the judges, they are sending me messages and they are saying that they have seen the audio visuals and the audio visuals were accompanied by the petition. So that should not be a matter for debate any further. Thank you. Now,
I know some who have not.
Okay.
They are not their
We're
clients.
joined by David Asante, who is the convener of the Let My Vote Count Alliance. David, good morning and welcome to Newsfile.
Good morning, Samson.
Thanks for joining us. Now, you are going back on the streets again. When?
Thank you very much, Samson. Let me say good morning to our listeners. We have presented a notification letter to the police stating our dates and our original intent to picket on the 29th of September.
29th of September.
Yes, we have. We have done that.
Why do you want to do a second demonstration? You did a first one, and we know what came out of it, the brutalities, and even somebody lost his eye.
Yeah, something. I thank you for the opportunity again. I must say that the original intent and purpose for which we did set out the last time was to present a petition to the Electoral Commission and to demand a new voters register. Unfortunately, we had an awful encounter with the police on the street of Accra. Like you have rightly stated, otherwise non-violent and unarmed civilians met the brutalities of the police force. Quite a regrettable experience though it was, but we still think the mission of our activity on that day has still not been achieved nor accomplished. It is part of our democratic rights, and in all democracy or democracy institutions, picket is the Constitution. So it gives us the opportunity to reorganize ourselves, assemble again, and then embark on that peaceful protest to present our petition to drive home the need for a new voters register as part of deepening the democracy we practice.
So you're going a second time because you could not present the petition. You want to present it, a piece of paper, correct?
Exactly so. Secondly,
do you need a demonstration again to present it?
Well, the point also is that it gives us an opportunity to also demonstrate to the world. We are going out there, secondly, to demonstrate against state-sponsored police brutality against civilians. We find the posture of the police very unfortunate. It is very unfortunate because after the incident, which unfortunately led to a gentleman losing one of the eyes, we heard senior police officers on radio publicly saying they do not regret their action. It is lawful for them to have flipped off the eye of a demonstrator or a protester because he set off the approved route. These are the sad words of a police officer. We believe the opportunity to get onto the street again legitimately and peacefully to protest and present a petition can also give us another opportunity to protest against these brutalities that were meted out to the innocent Ghanaian citizens.
Well, first of all, you had the last demonstration and the issues came up, the brutalities and everything. You indicated that you were going to take the process of the law to get those police officers who unlawfully and unreasonably beat up, shot at some of your demonstrators. You are going to get them punished through the court process. Has that been followed?
Yes, Samson, as I speak to you now, our lawyers are putting the bits and pieces together. In the next 1 week, I can tell you on authority, our lawyers are going to pursue the matter in the courts. The police in public display firing tear gas whilst protesters were peacefully running for their dear lives, and police are caught on camera still brutalizing them with batons, with blood spilling over. This certainly cannot be described as crowd control. It can be described in a different language. So I can tell you on authority, our lawyers are pursuing the matter from the angle of human rights abuse. That also is in the pipeline. Secondly, also, our 29th date we settled on to picket the Electoral Commission was in consultation with the police, because our earlier decision was to do it on the 22nd. We had a series of meetings with the police, and they made us appreciate the need to look at the date carefully, which we did, and changed the date to 29th. It was interesting to realize on the day we were handing over the letter to the police, they had gone already to secure a court injunction, as it were, to restrain us from picketing the Electoral Commission's premise.
Sorry, clarify this for me. The police had already been to court to seek an injunction and obtained same even before you tendered your letter notifying them of the next action?
Perfect. I believe it was really because the decision to change the 22nd date and to consider another date was impelled by a meeting we had with the police, and we agreed to settle for the date 29th. So when we left, it was required of us to go and put that notification, the modified notification.
Okay, just hold on there for me briefly. Is it possible, for the police to go to court and obtain an injunction even before they had brought the notice to the police?
Well, that is surprising to me, and I think that in this whole case of public order, we should look at the court as well.
No, why is that surprising to you?
It's surprising to me because, I mean, and it's not surprising because the police did that, but because the court granted that order for them.
David, I need to get you a lot more clearer on this issue. You are saying before you tendered your notice to the police of your intended action on 29th, they had already gone to court and secured an injunction against the second one?
Something, rightly so. Let me explain further. We had meetings with the police.
I just can't understand. I don't know how that happens.
They gave us a lot of reasons for which we were compelled to look critically at the date again.
How is that a problem?
9. In the presence of the police,
you ask them to go and
we reached a compromise. Go back and put this new notification on a paper. So we alerted them we were coming over. So upon our arrival, we realized the court belief was there. The impression is that they had prepared and it was premeditated. So, even in our absence, prior to our arrival, they had already gone to secure the restraining order.
Okay, now once again, a little clarity. Once again. So, from what you're saying, you had already tendered a first letter, and that is the letter they used to secure the injunction.
No. Our already letter we tendered in was dated, or we selected the 22nd date, which called for a meeting with the parties, that is the demonstrators and the police. At that meeting, we agreed to change the date to 29. And as part of the processes involved in getting settled for a day, we had to go back and write a new notification letter, which had the selected date as 29.
Okay.
Prior to our arrival at the regional police command to hand over the new letter with which we had settled on the date for 29, the police already had the court restraining order.
So it is this injunction is stopping you from only picketing at the Electoral Commission or what on the 29th?
Something. The exciting and intriguing part of this whole injunction is that a group of citizens in the country have decided to embark on a peaceful process of picketing to drum home a legitimate demand. Then the police picks up the responsibility of going to court in their own language to determine through the court's authority where and how we can carry out that legitimate mandate of ours. So in the restraining order, the court has mandated us to converge at Obrasport, move from there, with other spelled out routes, including the final converging point as hard to pack. Something our worry here is, where lies the strength of the democratic right that the citizenry have? If indeed demonstrations are going to be, or routes and destinations of demonstrations are going to be determined by police through the court order and authority.
We're actually raising the police on the phone lines to explain some of the very curious points that you raised to me. And was this injunction granted by a high court or a circuit court? Do you know?
The injunction was granted by a circuit court by a judge, M.E. Esando, dated the 18th of September 2015.
Interesting. Okay. Now, the central question that you are being asked by many is that, even before we get to that, someone suffered this unfortunate situation. He's lost his eye. I understand that you have visited the person, consoled with him and his wife and children and everything, and he even encourages you to continue with this next action. But don't you feel that it may be prudent not to embark on another demonstration, but simply go and hand over the petition that you could not hand over to the EC boss?
Something. Our resolve to get onto the street as part of the democratic process to present a petition has rather been deepened and strengthened by the awful incident on that fateful Wednesday. Not to picket or demonstrate. It's rather to succumb to state-sponsored intimidation and harassment against citizens otherwise expressing their right to protest peacefully. If we start to succumb to such concessions to the state, we begin allowing the gradual erosion of our constitutional rights not to go out there to demonstrate or to agitate peacefully. Something.
But you cannot protect the safety of the people who are going to go out with you.
Say that again, sorry.
You cannot, assure the protection of the safety of the people who are going to go out with you.
Something. I can tell you on authority, we intend making this very demonstration as possible. Our intent and the impelling factor motivating us to go onto the street is not to get confrontational with the police. Not at all. That is not what we seek to do. But we seek to establish the principle that constitutional rights we seek to protect. We do not want to live in this country where in future demonstrators would have to seek permission, as it were, and routes determined by the police. Something, it drowns our constitutional right to express our freedom and then issues that borders on the democracy we practice. However, there is a precedent in this country. Attempting to get into the Flagstaff House, like we well know, you will be stopped and searched. Attempting to get to a place like the inner perimeters of the Parliament House, you will be stopped and searched. Countless number of times have we gone into the offices of the Electoral Commission. No such activity takes place. One would wonder, how come suddenly the Electoral Commission has become a danger zone? Citizens can no longer come together under police protection to present a paper and a petition which contains grievances. It beats our imagination. There could be a lot more to what
So you are going on this time again on the 29th because the entire process has not been injuncted, correct? You are just only being stopped from going to the EC's offices to picket and to use other routes which you would have preferred.
Exactly so. On the 28th of September, come Monday, the court will sit on the matter at 9 in the morning. We are hoping that the court would see wisdom in our position on the matter. However,
you have filed a counter process seeking to set aside what they have,
pleading with the court to set aside the injunction served on us through the police, restraining us from picketing at the Electoral Commission.
Interesting.
Originally, we are looking at even sending leadership to present a petition to the commission, not carrying the entire crowd of demonstrators into the premises of the Electoral Commission.
Okay.
This was the position we articulated to the police in the previous demonstration, which unfortunately turned out that far.
If you can do this for me, if you can do this for me in 1 minute, what do you say to your critics who say you are trying to stampede the Electoral Commission into this decision? Because the Electoral Commission had given a deadline to all political parties of 22nd September and asked them to submit their proposals on this issue. Then a decision will be taken. Why are you going ahead of the EC?
We think the Electoral Commission could have even made matters simpler for itself and for Ghanaians if indeed the Commission had looked critically into the merits or otherwise of the case presented by the main political party that raised the need for a new voters register. But in the Electoral Commission's own wisdom in broadening the frontiers for others to tender in their version of the story, the Commission gave room for parties and movements to come in with their version of the matter. I believe our intention is not to stampede the Electoral Commission. It is rather the institution of state that is seeking to suppress our will, rather stampeding us and preventing us from getting a new voters register. What we are doing is purely within the confines of the law. As long as we notify the police and we are ready to abide strictly by the tenets of the law court, something. I do not think we are stampeding the commissioner or
Thank
the
you.
commission.
Thank you very much for your time, David.
Alternatives.
Thank you very much for your time, David. David Asante is the convener of the Let My Vote Count Alliance, and they say they are still going on with their demonstration. We had agreed to speak to DCOP Christian Tete Yohunu, who is a Greater Accra Regional Police Commander, and I'm still waiting to be able to put a few questions to him as to why they are bent on stopping or, as it were, constricting these particular demonstrators in the manner they want to express themselves. And like he asked the question, is the EC's premises really a security zone for which they are not allowed to picket at that place? Now, let me hear from you.
Thompson, I think as a democracy, I would like to think that the right to demonstrate, the right to picket, and that's to picket anywhere, is enshrined as a right in our democracy.
Right.
What is the interest of the police in seeking to stop people from picketing in particular places? And I think the agreed route is being used too often to try and prevent or frustrate the will of the people. And it's happened to us. In February, when we were seeking to picket to get the Ministry of Information building, which rightfully belongs to us, we weren't seeking to occupy the building. We were just simply seeking to picket as close to it as possible. And the route we were given was farcical. And this issue of why can't any organization picket it happens in any other jurisdiction. It's even a test of the maturity of our democracy. Why can't you simply go and present your petition, or even go and picket outside the Electoral Commission? Why should the police, what is the interest of the police in seeking to stop you going as close to the Electoral Commission as possible?
The CPP also
Why will they even seek
CPP also wants a new register. You are not on the streets, are you?
Well, I think that is an option that we can take. If we don't take it, that's not to say that others should not exercise their right. It is their right to exercise that right. And for me, the puzzling thing is, what is the interest of the police in seeking to frustrate this process to the point where they are even trying to have an injunction? Is it the right of the police in this country to seek to prevent people from exercising their constitutional right? The situation last time reminds me of the civil rights in the US of the 60s, where Black Americans, African Americans were seeking in Selma, for example, to cross a bridge, to simply walk across the bridge. And they were brutalized with horses and, in this case, we're in our own country.
Now they can picket, they can occupy the White House for as long as they wish.
So we are still fighting almost as if we're fighting for civil rights in our own country, when the Constitution allows us to demonstrate, to picket, and where we even are given the right to picket, or we are allowed to, they want to control where we picket. They want to control what is the danger. And the challenge for the police is to be able to ensure a public order, etc. So if you're picketing outside the Electoral Commission, the challenge for the police is to use their skills, their best skills, to prevent you from disrupting, causing public disorder or whatever. But to seek an injunction, or to seek to prevent you from marching or demonstrating or picketing, is simply a curtailment, I believe.
Of that right.
Of that right.
Well,
and I think their role is not, is not the role of the police.
This group intends beyond going to the same court to seek to vacate the injunction order. They intend to go to the Supreme Court to ask the Supreme Court to stop this thing that continues with the police.
I think now, the police has a lot to answer.
Yes. Mohammed, what do you also say about the entire process?
Well, I would say, Samson, that at least we have a very reputable police service, highly acknowledged throughout the world. But the incident, as it happened, that fateful Wednesday, places a serious blot on this reputation. The constitutionality of the action is not at all in doubt.
They said they use minimum for reasonable force. And that some of them graduated force, and that some of them were pelted with stones.
That is exactly.
They are yet to show us evidence of anybody.
That is exactly where I'm getting to. This action is very much unlike our police force that we know. The tendency here is to be the highland of some people sitting just aside. What I'm saying is that it looks as if the police itself will admit the fact that, in fact, those who, committed the excesses look very much like they were just given what I call police uniform to do what they did. I think the investigation should even go further to find out those who were caught on video, to find out whether they are 7 police officers, And then you look at comments that came later on by government communicators, was very disheartening, to the extent that somebody should, take an oozing blood to be a tomato paste. I mean, very, very sad.
Well, now they know that the guy has lost his
Yes,
eye.
but that's what I'm saying, So, I mean, the controversy about the precincts of the EC being a security zone is also even something held in doubt today. After all, I mean, if you take this infamous invasion by the battle dress clad, by mosquito in 200, is it 209 or 208? I mean, it puts that situation in a very serious controversy. I think it is time the institutions of state respected the people, that they are there to serve us and not any paymasters who must be sitting somewhere. That is very, very important.
If that invasion happened and it happened unlawfully, it should not be encouraged again.
The point is, who had said it had even happened unlawfully? Okay. I mean, the issue has not arisen. Right. That issue had not even, has not arisen at all. So you cannot even compare it with what is happening. But what you are saying is that, to the extent that, this so-called disproportionate force was used on very innocent picketers and unprovoked, leaves very much to be desired. And I think that, for all that I mean, people were trying to satisfy some what I call mercenary mission, and maybe to the satisfaction of some paymasters somewhere, and we need further investigation.
Interesting.
About that.
Yes. Giorgio Kojo Amani sends me this message, and he's actually sent also an exhibit attached, and the exhibit is an order, a restraining order from the same circuit court, and he says that the police did the same to their organization, that is the Citizens Ghana group, exactly the same modus. They agreed together with the police to change the date of a planned protest. When they delivered the new letter, they already had a restraining order for the new dates. and theirs was by the same circuit court judge. That's a concern you're already expressing about. The police is going to the same judge all the time, picking an injunction order without any, without any stress. And you are concerned about that?
Yes, I am. And I think that, yes, I will not really blame the police, because all of us want the easy way out. That is why the courts are there, to determine whether or not this is an appropriate case before me. I mean, if we accept that in some instance the service of an injunction will amount to a restraining order of some sort, and I understand the Supreme Court has recently held in Muzama Church.
He's doing a gamma
of course, never mind. Then in that case, I do not see why it appears that it's becoming too automatic for the courts to grant these ex parte applications
with ease
for the police. Look at this one. If you look at the 18
ex parte application, meaning the police go on the blind side.
Yes, without service on the other people. This one, they said 18. They are going on the 29th, so about 8 days. So the law says 3 clear days. It means that they could have still have even complied with the rules. In any case, if on that day the case is not heard, they will have to just postpone it until the application is heard.
Does the judge have a discretion to say, you have brought an ex parte application, but I insist that you should serve notice on the other party?
They do it all the time. For example, application for writ of possession says it should be ex parte. But normally when you go, they will tell you, go and serve anybody in the house before you come back. If they don't respond, then I'll go ahead and grant it.
I've encountered that before.
Yes, I'll grant it for you.
So why is it that in this case, they never do it? The police always go and they get it.
Yes, so I won't blame the police. That's what I'm saying, that it's important that when you give the opportunity to the other side, then you realize that you may not have been told the truth, the whole truth. You understand? So I think that the court should just be alive to some of these matters. You know, that Joche said in the Waterville case that even when the party is not opposed to an application, a judge should be minded. Look at the public interest, the interest of individuals and so on, before you even determine. And that the fact that the person didn't oppose doesn't mean that as a judge, you'll be too ready to lend your hand to a seeming abuse of the court processes. And so I think that we should just be careful, because the police will always come over and try and exercise their rights. But the right of the others is also important. The law doesn't demand that the police should give a permit.
Right.
All he says is that shall request them to probably change the date. Right. And so the people should be able to even go on demonstration without the police. We've seen instances where the police said postpone because our men are not ready. When the people hit on the street, you get a number of police to try and sack them or arrest them.
Very interesting. There was a time, is it AFAG or which other group? It tried for almost over a year to organize one protest. It was unable to. It was being told all the time to postpone, and it kept postponing until it got to a point where it just got fed up and said, look, we'll go on with or without you. This concerned Ghanaians for responsible governance in injunction which they are showing, which is almost in the same light as what these guys are facing. Do we take these to say we should not hear the police exercise their responsibility and duty to ensure that when we are going on a demonstration or whatever protest march it is, they should have a say on which route we should take?
Well, the law is clear as to what should be done. The police has a role to play in it. The organizers of the event also have a role. So let's go to the law and see what the law says. This is the Public Order Act. Before it was the Constitution, which is fundamental. Really didn't restrict us. And then we realized the police was abusing this constitutional right, which is Article 21, 1D especially, the freedom of assembly, including the freedom to take part in processions and demonstrations. So the MPP went to court. This was somewhere 93, 94, and won a victory in court. The court indicated that the constitutional provision was clear-cut. It was out of that Parliament, somewhere along the line, sat and legislated the Public Order Act into being.
Okay, so that case said that what? you don't need any police involvement.
Yes, because the police kept on insisting on the old thing that they had been doing before the constitutional.
So by that ruling, anybody could get up any day and then just have their demonstration.
That's right.
Protest.
That's right. And so we won. I mean, Ghanaians. It wasn't just an MPP went to court, but all democratic forces were behind that process, because many of us were always in the street and encountering the police and other extra paramilitary groups, who were always checkmating us. It was a huge battle.
It's a case of major reference for lawyers.
Yes, I'm telling you, it was a huge battle. If you recall, when Professor Mills issued a statement against the brutalities that the concerned citizens suffered in the hands of the police, he actually referred the IGP and the police to a paragraph of Justice Aiken's statement, ruling in the judgment. And may I read it? It says, "It is very tempting for some policemen to adopt the attitude of being too ready or willing to give orders or misuse their authority and be bossy and interfering, ready to show the people where power lies." This is NPP versus IGP, 1993-94, Ghana Law Report 459 at page 476. This is Professor Mills. He also indicated to the police to not to forget that demonstrations, agitations, and those things led to Ghana's independence, as well as rescued us from the shackles of our champions, Unigov. It's instructive to know that today there are people who belong to his party who are rationalizing and justifying the police action. But let's look at the law. Even this one, the Public Order Act, that some of us are beginning to get worried about because of how the police are manipulating and abusing it. What does it say? Look, in terms of choice of time to go on demonstration, the place and hour of the special event, the proposed route and destination, if any, and proposed time of closure of the event, this is section 2, is exclusively, primarily, the business of the organizers.
Okay.
That's what the law says. Now, beyond that, it says in section 4, it says where a police officer notified of a special event under subsection 1 has reasonable grounds to believe that a special event, if held, may lead to violence or endanger public defense, public order, public safety, public health, or the running of essential services, or violate the rights and freedoms of others, he may request the organizers to postpone the special event to any other date or to relocate the special event. 5. An organizer requested under subsection 4 to postpone or relocate the holding of the special event shall within 48 hours, mark it, within 48 hours of the request, notify the police officer in writing of his willingness to comply. 6. Where the organizers refuse to comply with the request under subsection 4 or fail to notify the police officer in accordance with subsection 5, the police officer may apply to any judge or a chairman of a tribunal for an order to prohibit the holding of the special event on the proposed date or at the proposed location. Sequentially and procedurally, is that the picture we are getting?
In fact, the last resort is that where they have refused.
Yes.
But from what he has told us, they did not refuse.
So is that what we are seeing? Is that the picture? Where you've asked them, please relocate or postpone. They have 48 hours within which to respond in writing. Have we had that?
Not at all. Because they were sent
the
very morning.
Yes, so that is not what is going on. No. So even in terms relative to the legal regime, it is not being observed. And the police are the principal culprits in terms of the violation of this particular political legal regime. And that's why people are beginning to ask if we should not go back to the Supreme Court and seek interpretation as to how this thing ought to be operationalized. Otherwise, like common sense, goodwill, should be able to drive this process without us resorting to any other means.
You and others have suggested that we could simply even amend this particular law to require that they cannot go ex parte. They must always go
indeed,
on notice.
Parliament can even do something about this law, because I don't think it's an entrenched the Public Order Act falls within that aspect. You are a lawyer. So, but there's that call now that let's take another look. Why? Because we are not allowing the thing to operate on basis of goodwill and good sense. And that's not fair. So then let's look for the law to make sure that we can enforce it. If good sense, common sense will not work.
But what do you say? Do they need another protest march to present their petition?
I'll be the last person to say no to that. The last person ever. I'll be so hypocritical if I did so. But earlier on, I had advocated the thing of a representative side, just the leaders, going with the police to present. That is after the mass manifestation. To the
Crawford doesn't want to even hear that. No, he said it's their right. They should exercise it.
We have been in demonstration. There were many occasions that we had little compromises with the police if it doesn't affect the substance of our mission. So these things can be done. Okay, they can still have the demonstration, go to the House Park, the police and the leaders can then go to the EC and send the petition. Okay. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you can compromise on those tactical things.
We'll take a quick break, we'll return, and then I'll pick your views briefly on where you stand on these proposals that are being submitted for some sort of re-engineering of the electoral register. We'll be right back.